is the main problem here. 40% of the food that is grown is never eaten.
It's a tragic statistic because how much produce is needed to support the world, and not just in Arizona, not just the United States, but globally.
Arizona is the leading state in food waste.
Why? Why do we have so much food waste?
People overgrow, overproduce. It also comes from overconsumption.
Food waste could mean many different things. It could be, cuttings of like vegetables. So let's say you're doing meal prep and you have like the top of a carrot. That could be considered food waste, or it could be something in your fridge that may have spoiled.
Food waste to me is anything that is organic that I can keep out of a landfill. I think that's as easy as you can sum it up.
About 60 to 70% of produce is grown from Mexico. Distributors find their sources to see if they can sell the produce. If they cannot, normally it gets dumped in a landfill.
Food waste is awful for the environment. Eventually food will make its way to the landfill and it just sits there.
It attempts to break down and it really can't. So it starts producing methane gas, which has a higher global warming potential than carbon dioxide.
When you're creating food waste, you're emitting more greenhouse gases into the atmosphere.
Landfills are actually the third largest source of methane, and it's largely because of food waste.
That's going to have effects years, decades into the future.
Listen, I like being a chef, right? I like the grind of being a chef. I like the hours. I love kitchens. I grew up in kitchens. Kitchens became my daycare when I was 5 or 6 years old. It was an opportunity to see my dad, really. My dad was in the kitchens, right? Years ago, my dad would take overproduced food and he would load it into a specific freezer. Once a month or so, he would go feed the community. It was incredibly inefficient. It was a degraded product of the food. I was always searching subconsciously of how do you keep perishables? What happens to them? And one day, years and years and years ago, a lady comes by. It's hard for me to talk about, so give me just a second. But a lady came by from Waste Not. She said she had this company that was putting food out to the community.
Waste Not is a nonprofit that rescues prepared and perishable food and gets that to over 75 nonprofits that feed the hungry. We specifically at Waste Not work with food businesses, really large caterers. We work with Elastic Catering, a whole bunch.
On a business side, it was the last piece to my sustainability drive of going zero landfill.
It's a great solution to get that food that would just normally get thrown into the landfill and give it to the people who need it.
They count on me to protect the dignity of their clients as they deliver food. That means we've got to do a great job on presenting that food and panning it and giving it to them, not throwing it in bags and handing it off. We produce about 80,000 pounds a year for the community. And so when you're talking about 80,000 pounds a year, it's mind-boggling how much food is actually out there. The nature of events, of banquets, of whatever you call them, you have a tremendous amount of food.
What Waste Not does is extremely important because there is excess food everywhere. And there are hungry people everywhere. About 1 million Arizonans suffer from food insecurity and are hungry.
Here in South Phoenix, we know there's vitamin A deficiencies, so that's your squash and your meats, and so to see anything like that go to waste is like heartbreaking. We're a human services organization. Our mission here is to really have a balanced food box, but also make sure that the food coming in isn't wasted.
Yeah, have a good day, man.
There's so much need out there, and we know that people can use it if it's good. We definitely want to see more food that's edible and fresh come into food pantries and be used for the people who really need it and the families who really need it, especially the kids.
We just so happened to send some baked goods that included a cake to the Boys and Girls Club one day. And there was a child there, and it was his birthday, and the kid got to take home a cake, and it just made his day. It made his family's day because they weren't able to afford a luxury goodie like that.
Oh, you know what? We forgot tomatoes.
This is my passion, to be in food banking, to help people to get and supplement meals. Thank you, ma'am. I came here when I was 3 years old from Hong Kong, and my parents didn't have much when they came here. As a food bank alone, we distribute 32 million pounds annually through our 4 programs. Produce on Wheels Without Waste is one of our programs. We provide a good supplement to an individual or a family with up to 70 pounds of produce at 21 cents per pound for $15 contribution. About 60 to 70% of produce is grown from Mexico. The produce arrives in Rio Rico, Arizona, and that's where the staging point for all purchasing of produce for grocery chains and supermarkets. We are 13 miles south of Rio Rico, so we have the ability to be able to transport the produce from their warehouse to our warehouse. We take that produce to make sure it goes out within the same week. Through our whole produce life cycle, at the end, there are always going to be waste.
Hi, Bubsies. Do you want a snacky?
So if there's anything we can't use that comes in from grocery stores, we have a farmer that comes and picks up those items, go to the farm. And so his pig gets a yummy meal.
Instead of taking it back to the landfill, we want to offer some of it or most of it to animals or ranchers.
Composting is really great. It's fun to teach your children, and you make sure that waste that you produce in your household doesn't go to the landfill.
Composting and stuff makes me feel great. And I'm in the dirt, you know, every day, getting dirty. This is my life. I spend every day, all day, just thinking about this stuff. I love compost. So we pick up food waste from residential and commercial customers, and then all the food waste that we pick up, we take it back to our farm, and then we do all the composting ourselves. I started with an abandoned pickup truck and a shovel 8 years ago in a backyard, and I was actually digging holes and burying the food waste. Our sales keep going up. We've never stopped growing, both the composting and the farming. The vans come back here, we dump the buckets out, start mixing it. So 100% of the food waste we pick up is used to regenerate the farmland. And then the local farm has a great resource to rebuild the soil and grow vegetables.
How can we do better, right? And everything we do, there's always a way to do better, and there's always a way to save more food and get more food into the people's hands that need it.
We're in a society of consumption, right? You help with intelligent consumption.
Managing the waste, I think, is something we could all do better.
I would love for us to reduce and find ways to prevent food from going to the landfill. The biggest thing that when we educate residents is to try to reduce your food waste right at the source. So when you're at the grocery store, if you're going to buy something, buy only what you need. At home, if you have stuff in your fridge, labeling it, little things like that have a big impact.
We need to make sure that individuals and food businesses and anyone really involved in the food waste stream is aware of how it affects people and how it affects our environment.
There has to be a commitment there to donate from the managers and the executives at the stores to say, we want it to go to people in our community who need it, and that needs to be a priority.
Food waste is a problem, but a lot of people are doing a lot of good work to make sure that we mitigate that problem. Knowing that I had a part in saving the environment, and I had a part in making sure that a bunch of methane doesn't get into the air because of all the food in the landfill. Knowing that I made a difference is really worth it to me. There's an app for that. Match.com for food. We just match the food donation with the food recipient, and it's a match.
Strangest thing, I think I found like a bike tire once, a hose. I think I've seen a hose in there.
And I would like to say thank you for all these volunteers that show up, and without them we're not able to help people supplement meals.
Why do you think Arizona is the leading state in the country for food waste?
Oh my gosh, it is. That's awful. We definitely don't want to be number one. We want to get that number down to 50 or something, right?
The mic that you have in your pocket, I may have given it to you turned off.
I think it was.
Was it turned off? Yes.
Yeah.
I am so
Okay,
sorry.
that's okay. That's okay. I'm glad I have a second take. So.
Yeah, take two. Take two. Take two.
So thanks for the opportunity. Thank you for what all you guys are doing. And yeah, so awesome. Thanks.